Oh, hey guys. Sorry, I'm just looking over my bucket list. Let's see. Let's see. Work on Ed's World. Check. Get shirtless on camera. Check. Haven't checked off go to E3, do an episode of Did You Know Gaming, or review Ducktales for the NES. Well, since only one of those things sounded realistic, I guess I'll have to go with the Ducktales game. Wait. Hey, Professor!
Yes, young fellow?
What are my chances of being able to voice an episode of Did You Know Gaming?
Well, taking into account your number of subscribers, the quality of your videos, the fact that your hair isn't bigger than your face, along with the fact that your review style comes off as more informative than entertaining, carry the 1, divide by the decimal, slice of pie, subtract by -48, it should come as no surprise that you doing an episode of Did You Know Gaming will never happen.
You really know help sometimes, you know that?
I know everything!
Well, thanks anyway. Now get out of here. Oh, he's fine, by the way. Licensed games don't exactly have the best reputation, especially those based on TV shows. When it comes to these kind of games, there are just some awful games out there. But a lot of people seem to agree that there is one game out there that's both based on a TV show and actually genuinely good. That game is Ducktales for the NES.
The cartoon, of course, was one of the big hitters on the Disney afternoon block back in the 80s and 90s. I've never seen full episodes of the show, but I do know the characters like Scrooge McDuck, Huey, Dewey, Louie, Launchpad. I know all those guys. And from what I understand, the show had a really good mix of character, adventure, and humor. So making a game based off this show shouldn't be that hard of a task.
This was a pretty big risk because in the late 80s, the NES was pretty much where everyone's favorite things got a video game adaptation that didn't do it justice. Like, at all. Fortunately, Disney gave it to one of the most popular game developers at the time, Capcom.
Capcom had the Mega Man series under their belt, and each installment was met with critical success. So having Disney work with them to make a DuckTales video game was a stroke of genius. But even with their efforts combined, did they truly manage to produce a high-quality product?
Oh, wait, before we get to that, I heard there's also a Game Boy version. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, let's stick with the NES game.
Alright, let's see what we got here. So when you start the game, you see that there are 5 stages available for you to play through. There isn't really a story, all I get is that Scrooge is traveling around the world trying to collect enough treasures to make him the richest duck in the world. Because the billionaire's gotta keep himself busy somehow. Immediately, you'll notice how similar this game looks to Mega Man. You control Scrooge throughout the whole game, and while he doesn't have an arm cannon like Mega Man does, he has his trusty walking stick, which is very effective. You can destroy rocks and treasure chests with ease, and you can even bounce off of enemies and hazards you wouldn't be able to jump on normally. I love this thing, and having Scrooge be able to attack with it was a great idea. Scrooge carries it around with him throughout each of the 5 stages, all of them having treasures for him to find. The Amazon is a pretty standard jungle level with snakes and killer plants and a statue that wants me to give it money so that I can continue. $300,000? No thanks, I'm just gonna bounce off this native's head, thank you very much. Transylvania is spooky and scary, but in a good way. It has a great sense of atmosphere and some very interesting level design by the use of magic mirrors and walls that you can walk through. It's probably my favorite in terms of design, but I can't stand those ghosts. I wish they would die. Wait, they're technically already dead, but you know what I mean. The African Mine stage is the only one that has to be played by finishing another stage, because the key to get into the mines is back in Transylvania, by going through a mirror that you couldn't go through before. It's not terribly frustrating, but it is pointless. At least the stage itself is pretty cool. It might just have the biggest number of alternate paths out of any other stage in the game. You can finish it in so many different ways and uncover some cool secrets because of that. The Himalayas is my least favorite of the 5. You can't use your cane to bounce off the snow because trying to do so will get you stuck in the snow. It also has one of my least favorite things about any video game ever: ice physics. Granted, I didn't have to deal with them for very long, but I can almost never be able to tolerate ice physics. The worst thing about this stage is the goats. I hate them. They prance toward you and they're so hard to avoid. You're gonna be dinner when I'm done with you. After that, we go to the moon. Seriously, we're on the moon. And this one isn't as bad as the Himalayas, it just takes me longer to beat. This UFO has a lot of things you'll need to go further, like a key to get to another part of the ship, and a remote control that I guess allows Gizmo Duck to blast away this wall. Playing it almost feels like being inside one of Wallace and Gromit's inventions. So many things going on at once just to do one simple task. Come to think of it, they also went to the moon at one point.
A Wallace and Gromit reference that actually makes sense. Today's a good day.
So those are our stages, but those are only brief summaries of what they're really like. As I've said before, I love the feeling of being rewarded for my curiosity in video games. And when it comes to adventure games for the NES, Ducktales is probably the most rewarding I've played. Things like extra lives, health pickups that come in the form of cakes and ice cream, and hidden treasures that are literally called hidden treasures can be found if you're curious enough. Sometimes you can even find secrets by complete accident, and you just can't help it because you end up getting so used to how these levels are designed. Anyway, at the end of each stage is a boss battle, and defeating them will reward you with the treasure. Here you fight characters from the show like Magica Dispel, or just completely random things like a space rat or a tiki statue. Maybe they were in the show too, I don't know. What I do know is that Dracula Duck is a pain. You have to bounce off these bats in order to try and hit him, but sometimes they'll come in so high that you won't be able to reach them. Oh shoot, time to load my state again.
Oh, yeah, I'm using an emulator, by the way. And I feel no shame.
Now I'm in the mood to complain, so here are some things I don't really like about this game. First off, the controls in general are responsive, but finicky. Bouncing around with a cane can be a lot of fun, but sometimes while bouncing, you'll come to a complete stop, and it throws me off every time it happens. Whoa! Scrooge, are you standing on a spike? That is... I'm at a loss for words. Second, remember when I said I didn't like the ice physics? Well, there's another thing about this game that's been a personal pet peeve of mine for years. Respawning enemies. It's not always a big issue when it comes to the games I play, but here it's pretty much unforgivable, especially in the Himalayas, again because of those stupid goats. I don't think I've ever seen cases of respawning enemies this bad before, but maybe there are worse out there. Please don't let me know in the comments. Phew, finally beat him. Now what? You may have beaten Dracula Duck, but not me. If you want the treasures back, you'll have to catch me. Okay, so I have to chase Magica and Glomgold up this way to get to the treasures. And got him. Scrooge jumps in front of a treasure chest, we get a newspaper article written about us, and the game is over.
As far as I know, there are multiple endings, but I'm not going to bother showing them. Mostly because there's not that many, and I don't really like it when games have more than one ending. A little off topic, but I'd rather just be given one ending, and the one that I got is the one I'm sticking with. And I know I've complained about this game a lot near the end, but with all seriousness, I really enjoyed playing DuckTales.
Putting Capcom in charge of crafting this game more than worked in Disney's favor. It's not a terrifically long game, only 5 stages and a playtime of about maybe 45 minutes, but it plays like a dream, and that's all I really ask for. On top of that, the graphics are just so appealing. I've gotten some sprite flickering here and there, which shouldn't be a surprise considering this is a Capcom game for the NES, but it perfectly transitions the classic Disney style into 8-bit. As for the music, it's without a doubt the greatest possible thing about this game. I love this game's soundtrack, it's one of my favorites on the console. Of course you have the skull-bashingly catchy theme from the TV show, but the original pieces made solely for this game are among the most amazing pieces of music I've ever heard in an NES game. Yes, I'm talking about the moon theme. I think the planets must have aligned on the night of a blue moon, no pun intended, for a composer to think of a song this good.
With great level design, enticing gameplay, and a spectacular soundtrack, DuckTales is definitely one of my favorite games on the NES. But before I sign off, let's take a quick look at Ducktales Remastered, because really, when am I ever going to find a better opportunity to talk about this game?
In 2013, Disney and Capcom reunited to produce a remake of this NES classic. This time, however, the game was put in the hands of Way Forward Technologies, the same people responsible for the Shantae series. I never played these games, and I'm not in a rush to try them out anytime soon, but maybe some time in the future if you guys want me to. But I digress. Fundamentally, it's the exact same game, but of course there are tons of differences. First off, the game got a complete visual overhaul, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. The characters are animated in 2D while the backgrounds are rendered in 3D, and the result is one amazing looking game. Second, the soundtrack has been remixed by Shovel Knight composer Jake Kaufman. I think he did a great job, but the random dubstep breakdown in the Transylvania theme kind of threw me off. Third, there are a few subtle changes to the level design. Remember that statue that wanted you to give it money so that you can continue through the Amazon stage? Well, now it's not there anymore, and you don't have to find a key in Transylvania in order to get through the African mines either. Lastly, the game features fully voiced cutscenes before and during each stage. Every single character is voiced by the same actors from the show, including Alan Young reprising his role of Scrooge McDuck, and it's so cool to see them back together after nearly 30 years. At first, I didn't really like the cutscenes because I thought there were too many of them and I just wanted to play the game normally. Nowadays, and especially after getting footage for this video, I really enjoy watching them. I still think there's a touch too many of them, but I'm willing to look past that thanks to jokes like this.
I checked the glove compartment, but all I found was gloves.
The issues I have with the controls are gone. You can use the money you collect to buy music and concept art. Is there anything I don't like about this game? Well, yeah. The fight with the abominable snowman is still pretty tough, and Dracula Duck's fight is even more frustrating because this time he has a whole bunch of transformations. I don't mind if a remake goes all out, but this is just a little too much. And how about the ending? In the original, you got all your stuff back, but in Remastered, you lose it in Mount Vesuvius. At first I thought, wait, if I'm just gonna lose everything in the end, now my adventure just seems kinda pointless. But after playing it again, I thought, well, you can just play the game all over, so I guess they needed something to explain why you're gonna get all the treasures again. So overall, Ducktales Remastered is the definitive version of the game. But personally, I enjoyed playing the NES version just a little bit more. Still, Remastered is a lot of fun on its own. It's available for Wii U, PlayStation Network, and Xbox Live for relatively cheap nowadays, so if you want to give it a shot, then those are your options.
And that just about wraps it up for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to get ready to visit an old friend. Oh yeah! Next month, it's time for the Bandicoot. You all asked for it, and I'm giving it to you. Stay safe and stay tuned. Wow! But before I sign off, it's stuck, there, I'm gonna try that again.